Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today talking about Halo Infinite. I'm sorry. That's rude of me. I should turn off my ringer. Give me 1 sec. Hello? Yeah, I'm in the middle of recording a Halo Infinite video. You're kind of interrupting me. What do you mean it's old news? I know it's been talked about to death. Just hear me out. I just want to share my opinion, that's all. I've been tracking this Halo Infinite issue from afar since the Xbox Game Showcase, watching everything transpire, the situation develops, various responses from developers on Twitter, articles being written, inside information, rumors on troubled development. It's been a mountain of problems for Halo Infinite since the Xbox Games Showcase, but what I was waiting for more than anything was like a official direct response from 343 Industries, and they actually provided that, which we'll be looking at in today's video. But beneath that response is a mountain of issues that led us to this point here, where I feel like Halo Infinite's problems are deeper than a lot of us could have ever truly expected or realized, because I think for me personally, it all boils down to Xbox's stance that they made early on this year when it came to the new generation of consoles. I said it was good for consumers, but I called it a shot in the foot for Xbox. A lot of people were disappointed in that because they're like, aren't you for the consumers? 100,000% am for the consumer. What Xbox is doing with their exclusives, where they say, hey, Series X exclusives, they're not happening for 2 years. So you don't gotta buy the hardware. That's money in your pocket, ladies and gentlemen. You can put that into Game Pass and play all the games that they showed off and more. And that's good for us, the consumers. But for Microsoft, they're gonna have an issue because now they need to make these Xbox games be able to run on Series X, but also the Xbox One, which released in like 2013. So with Halo Infinite and its troubled development, going from an Xbox One game to now a Series X launch game, it's gone through a lot of trouble. Clearly, it's well displayed in the gameplay demo there. And I say that as a really big Halo fan. I'm maybe not as diehard as I used to be in like middle school and high school, where I played it pretty much every single day. Halo 1, though, holds a very special place in my heart. It's my favorite Halo of the entire series, at least story-wise. Multiplayer-wise, I'd say it's either Halo 3 or Reach. But since this game is clearly taking inspiration in a lot of ways from the original Halo, that's good in my book. However, I think it's clear that Xbox's decision is going to hurt some of its exclusives. There were write-ups stating that the gameplay trailer, the gameplay reveal, was running on an older build on the PC, but the idea of playing it on the PC there was that it would be similar to what you'd see on the Series X, so it wasn't even like the difference in hardware was really doing damage here. And a lot of comparisons have been made between the demo and the trailer, where we can see the textures for the weapons have clearly already been updated. The lighting looks a little bit better. So people, with all fairness, will ask, but why would they even show that gameplay at the Xbox Game Showcase? Why didn't they record something better? And I think it's because the process behind showing off gameplay for companies is a lot more complicated than many consumers realize. And it's not a bad thing, because I think a lot of folks think that Xbox is going to post up with an Elgato HD, record their gameplay, be like, all right, boom, here it is, let's send it out. It has to be approved by multiple higher ups. They have to create a marketing campaign around all of that. There's so much that goes into it. Is this long enough? Is this too short? Does this cram our showcase? What point in the showcase do we put this in? Everything is constructed around that, and they have to make sure the gameplay is good as well, and not visually I'm talking about, but the way that they're showing off all of the mechanics in the game to get the reactions out of the player, to create that hype. They need to show all that off in the gameplay trailer and not just like all up front. So there's a lot to it there that I don't think people realize, and that's not an excuse, but it just goes to show how much a decision like this can be costly for a company. And the reason I wanted to set the stage for all of that is, you can tell it's a bit of a roller coaster here, right? I'm sure most of you are aware of that, but for my own sake, I haven't talked about it on the channel, so I just wanted to give my 2 cents. This leads into the 343 article over on Halo Waypoint, where they do address the visuals. I gotta say, transparency here, A+. Game companies, if you're watching this, if you're reading that article, this is how you do it. The days of the sugar-coated BS PR statements need to go. It's so old school. It's so stupid. Talk directly to the people who want to buy your product, and you explain to us what's going on and how you plan to fix it. That's literally what people want. Normalize the behavior that I'm about to display on the screen. We're all begging you sincerely, the consumers. Questions about graphics and visuals. First, we want to acknowledge that yes, we've heard the feedback coming from parts of the community regarding the visuals in Halo Infinite's campaign demo. While we see and hear far more positive than negative, we do want to share a bit more context. From our perspective, there are two key areas being debated around the community: overall art style and visual fidelity. Based on our learnings from Halo 4, 5, and Wars 2, along with strong community feedback, we decided to shift back towards the legacy aesthetics that define the original trilogy. With Halo Infinite, we've returned to a more classic art style, which was a key message going back to the very first reveal that garnered enthusiastic and positive responses. This translates to a more vibrant palette, cleaner models, and objects with less noise, though it doesn't mean less detail. While we appreciate this may not be everyone's personal preference, we stand by this decision and are happy to see it resonating with so many fans around the world. Now, in the article that they do link, it says Halo Infinite will feature Sparth's new art style that draws significant inspiration from the most iconic and historic parts of the Halo franchise and your feedback, all while modernizing and taking advantage of the full power of the Xbox One family. That new Master Chief helmet directly showcases our new art style. I did discuss this in my podcast, saying that I feel the issue is not the art style at all, but more so the models, the detail of said models. That's what people are really picking apart here. When it comes to Craig, right? Everyone's talked about Craig, which we'll get into in a little bit. For me, I view that less as a model problem and more of an animation problem. Like, would that look as flat, as boring, as bad if maybe the brute was screaming in your face, like his mouth was open, he looked angry, you could see some type of emotion there? But when you're zoomed in on a guy who's just like, I don't know, thinking about something deep and dark in his past as you take his life away, I mean, yeah, it does look pretty bad, but I felt that was more of like an animation issue rather than pure visuals. Continuing on with the reading, the second theme being discussed involves visual fidelity. Negative feedback in this area includes comments around characters and objects appearing flat, simplistic, and plastic-like. Lighting feeling dull, and flat, and object pop-in. We've read your comments, we've seen the homemade examples of retouched content, and yes, we've heard the Digital Foundry assessments, which is good. You guys should definitely check it out. In many ways, we are in agreement here. We do have work to do to address some of these areas and raise the level of fidelity and overall presentation for the final game. The build used to run the campaign demo was a work in progress from several weeks ago, with a variety of graphical elements and game systems still being finished and polished. While some of the feedback was expected and speaks to areas already in progress, other aspects of the feedback have brought new opportunities and considerations to light that the team is taking very seriously and working to assess. We don't have firm answers or outcomes to share yet, but the team is working as quickly as possible on plans to address some of the feedback around the detail, clarity, and overall fidelity. The team is committed and focused on making sure that we have a beautiful world for players to explore when we launch. This is what I'm talking about, man. Transparency. Just talk about it. Let us know you see it, and then tell us you're addressing it, just like this here. Like, this is it. This is how you do it. Now, we will see in the final product and hopefully future pieces of content how exactly this game ends up looking, but there were a lot of people launching to the defense of this game, and I understand it, right? Like, I was not in the ballpark of people who thought this game looked horrific. I thought gameplay-wise, it looked pretty fun. It looked like Halo, a little bit quicker, and I was just really intrigued by the overall inspiration of the original Halo. So there may be some bias there, if I'm totally honest with you, but I really did like what I saw. But there were people who were like bound and determined to be like, no, this has to be incredible. And if 343 is admitting, hey, our visuals not really up to snuff, and yes, we see your feedback, yes, we are working on it, then I don't know how else to say it, but like, stop leaping to their defense. They're aware, they're working on it, and it's better for all of us if the game looks good, right? I mean, we just saw with Ghost of Tsushima what really happens when a game's visuals can serve to build the atmosphere and overall aesthetic of the game. At least to me, not that Halo has always been this type of game that I've loved truly because of how it looks, but there is a semblance of getting with the times, right, Halo? Like, I liked you on the original Xbox, but I want you to look just like that too. So with this game being multiple months out, we haven't seen the multiplayer. There are questions about the multiplayer beta. There's rumors of it going free to play. There's just so many question marks about this game. Quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if this game got delayed. I think it would be smart to, but I also think Microsoft feels the pressure to have Halo there at launch. But with this consumer response, and now we're seeing them address the consumer's concerns, there may be the possibility that 343 goes to Microsoft and says like, hey, for us to get to the point we want to, we're going to need some extra time. And I'll be curious to see if Microsoft really leaps on that. I mean, we've seen them delay Crackdown 3 1,000,001 times. And as much as I enjoyed Crackdown in its heyday, it's no Halo, okay? Let's be honest. And I think Microsoft wants to make sure it's there at launch. So I'll be curious to see if they can get these changes done in time. But, the issues continue to mount, and only time will tell when we start to see more of the game, what improvements have been made, and overall how the game's looking, and if those rumors of troubled development are indeed true. Personally, I don't want this game to fail at all, man. Like, when I finished Halo Wars 2, I've been hyped for the next Halo game since then. I thought Halo Wars 2 story, if you haven't played it, it's way better in Halo 5, so I'll be truthful with you. It is a million times better in Halo 5's, and it sets up directly to what Halo Infinite is heading into. And Halo Wars 2 is just a great tactical game in general. I really do recommend it if you haven't played it. Maybe you're a Game Pass owner or something, give it a try. It is a really enjoyable title. But since that story, I've been pretty hyped for this game, so I just hope it does find a way to succeed. But overall, those are just my thoughts on the latest with Halo Infinite and its problems that continue to mount. I just wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts because you know me, guys. Like, I don't like to dive into the super saturated topics. You're looking at the person who literally reviewed SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated over The Last of Us Part 2, because I was like, everyone's talking that shit to death. Like, I'd like to go ahead and talk about something different. And so, with now a lot of information truly being out there, I felt a little more comfortable diving in. But I understand I'm a little late to the whole subject. But hopefully you've enjoyed my thoughts. You found them interesting. I look forward to reading yours in the comments down below. So do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons who continue to support all of the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.